Who could have imagined that the UN, United Nations, the world biggest organizations that's supposed to be having a simple dignity to protect the whole world, to bring peace in the world, to fix problem wherever there is conflict, to protect people with their belongings. Who could have imagined that this world organizations is the one that is being involved in a lot of dramas around the world? Hello everyone, welcome back to Coolbest, welcome back to another video. Today is a beautiful day and we believe to get in conversation with you by talking about what the UN has been doing around the world, especially in Africa continent. In order for us to understand very well, we first need to understand what was this UN charter being placed in the world so that everyone can believe in it. Because we see the world leaders, African leaders, each and every year, they have to go somewhere in the United States of America and they have to go and give some different speech there, giving report of what they have done or what is happening in their countries to this so-called UN assembly. But every time they go there, they raise up their concerns, their problems, their complaints. Why is it that they never had any kind of good solution from all these organizations? Instead, if there is one solution, then you must know that it's all about getting things become even more worse. The UN, it have reached the point of that everyone they have to see it with their own eyes that this is no more the UN that we signed for, but this is a US property. You know, the US with their alliance, they have the last word to say on what the UN has to do around the world. That is the reason why you'll see the UN sometimes they have a close eye blind when it comes to African affairs. The treatment is not the same to the one of other countries around the world. I don't know whether it's because of the African colors. I don't know whether it's because Africans, they are the one who deserve to be treated in such manners. I don't know. So there is a lot of questions which not only me who seated in front of your camera talking and telling you all this, but even yourself, you have some of the things maybe I won't be able to mention everything in this video, but you might be aware of one or two things that that make you not to like the UN, that make you be disappointed in the UN, all because you believe that these people are not doing their job the way they're supposed to be doing it. Besides that, we have African leaders who complained recently. The president of Ghana, President Dada, President Nana, I mean to say, he said something very important to these UN organizations. For him, he called them that they are thieves. These people, their job is to steal, and they are misleading the world. We're having people such as President Ruto of Kenya, who came and remind them that the kind of treatment that they're reserving for black skinned Africans is not the same as the one they're giving to other people. We even went far and give the example of Haiti, how the UN they're treating people of Haiti, knowing very well what is happening in Haiti. The conflict that the UN, the US, and France, they had create or invade in that country, but yet they're acting like they're not aware of what is happening in Haiti. That was the president of Kenya who had to say all these words. Beside him, there is many African leaders who passed there. We have like the Burkina Faso finance minister, the one who had to represent Ibrahim Traoré over there, who was very harsh to remind them that you guys, you are taking advantage of Africa. You thinking because you think that Africans, they still like the same the old Africans that you guys had colonized before, and that's when you are making a very big mistake of your life. Beside him, we still have also many people like the military government president of Chad. This man also came in and he was very harsh. He spoke the truth about this UN that they've been doing, especially in Africa. But my question here is that how possible or how come that all these African leaders, they're having one language? Well, these African leaders, they had this same one language. It's because of you and me. It's because of the campaign that we've been campaigning, what we've been saying through our social medias, what we've been discussing. Africans, they have understand that this is not the time for us to get distracted by the Barclay leagues and talking about footballs, who score and who did what. This is not about time for us to talk about music, who's good with music or who did what. African youth, they are now engaging in politics. African youth, they want to talk about their future. African youth, they have a couple of questions which they've been asking each one of them, trying to understand why Europe looks this good, better than the Africa when it comes to the visibilities. And the African youth, they are kind of like asking what is holding us as Africans to also build Africa, because we consider Africa as a better place. We consider Africa as a beautiful continent in the world. But how come most of Africans, they have to leave Africa behind and saying that they are going to Europe? Some of them, they are going to die in the oceans, all because they want to go and look for a better life somewhere in Europe or Canada or America. So these questions is what had make African youth to raise up and start now asking themselves these questions so that they'll get a proper answer, and make the fact that they are rising up and asking all these questions, they end up realizing that we're having an enemy that we had trusted the most. We took this enemy, we welcoming him in our home. He's seated, he feels comfortable. Now he's working with the outside world in order for them to defeat us. And that enemy, African youth have discovered, that will be the UN. The UN, which is supposed to be there to bring peace, which is supposed to be there to protect people with their belongings, which is supposed to be there to make sure that if something is not sitting okay, they can talk about it and find a proper way to make things look in the way that's supposed to be. Unfortunately, that's not the case. The UN, I always say that they are not there for the well-being of Africans. The UN, they are there to help the open eye mass system in order for them to continue looting Africa as much it pleases them. The UN, if you see their missions, is to make sure that they keep taking the small things, the small income that your government make, so that you pay them. Because remember, once you are having the UN in your country, you must know that it's not for free. Yes, you are contributing somewhere there, and they make other African countries contribute. Is it only the UN? No. This so-called military base, which France had tried to put all over Africa countries that they had colonized before, Chad, Burkina Faso, Togo, Gabon, Mali, these military bases, they are not there to help people of Africa. They are not there to help these countries to solve out their problems. You guys, you saw it. It all started with Mali. They sent this military base over there by France. When they arrived in Mali, you saw what happened? Things even get worse. Just to find out that no, the terrorists that are supposed to be fighting against these militaries, they were actually becoming good partners. They were eating together and working together, destroying the Mali government. Until when these militaries, they end up realizing that, how come we are putting so much effort to fight these terrorists, but yet we are not going anywhere, yet they keep on defeating us. We are planning plans to attack this area of the corner, and the next things, before even we reach there, they already ambush us. Why? Because they had some people who were taking these informations, selling it out to these terrorists or these rebellions. And the next things you'll be seated during the night, you got surprised by all these terrorists. So this Mali government, I mean the militaries, they end up realizing that no, this is not possible. Who's aware that we're supposed to be attacking this so-called corner of our country? And they end up finding that no, it is only the president or maybe minister 1, 2, 3, 4. And they start realizing that no, it is either the president who's working with these people selling us out, or either it is his ministers. Okay, fine. Let us, for example, cut his ministers out. They cut the ministers out. They remain with the president, which means they have to share those state security with the president only. And the next thing they find out that no, the things is happening again. They keep on being ambushed by these rebellions and the terrorists. Obviously, they end up realizing that no, we are having a puppet president on the head of the state. This president is not there to protect his people, but is there to protect the interest of France and the US in our soil. Therefore, us as a military, we are not going to sit here and accept this kind of nonsense. So we are going to organize a military coup. And they did that. They removed that puppet president in power. They took over the military, the government. After they took that government, to show that this puppet government was indeed working for the France, we also how France and the US came up, start attacking this military government, saying that they should stop. They don't recognize it. Do you know why? Obviously because they are protecting this so-called puppet president. They want him to go back in power so that they will continue having control of Mali. Because they know that if they remove the president in power and them they lost control, they will have to take time again for them to find someone they can use in order for that person to come and take power. You guys, you saw it with the President Ali Bongo. After they had given him a slap of a military coup in his country, instead of him calling for people who had so-called people that he claimed that they voted for him, instead of him calling for the help from them, instead of calling for people of Gabon to come to his rescue by going on the streets and stopping this military coup, guess what the man did? He went and called for his friends, the Western power, to come in. You guys remember what he said? He said that, guys, come. Me and my wife were in trouble. We're in trouble because we can't even move. We are in the house arrest. I don't know where is my wife. I don't know where is my sons. How can him go and call the Western power? What? You know, sometimes this is one thing I always said, that if we are going through all this as Africans, it's because of the kind of leaders we're having. African leaders, they are the one who've been selling us out. African leaders, they believe in order for you to be in power, the Western medias, they have to talk about you. The Western power, they have to confirm it. I've seen that a lot, especially when it comes to these things of elections. Some African leaders, they don't even believe in the result that the ICE have to announce. Instead, they'll prefer to believe in what the Western media will have to say. If the Western media say that they're the one who won the election, yeah, they'll celebrate. If the Western media say that no, it's that one who won the elections, then they'll keep quiet. But when the organization, the organizer of these elections announce, they don't trust in these results. These are the signs that showing that Africans were the one who have been giving these people power. We give them the power to take control over us, to have the last word in what we are doing as Africans. Because if each and every African leader can just try to ignore whatsoever these people say, I'm telling you, Africa will never gonna be the same again. How many organizations that these people they have made in order for them to be in control of Africa continent? This world organization that they have made, they only make it for it to have place or to be having impact on Africans' politics. If you go somewhere in Asia, you're not gonna find this organization over there. If you go in Europe, you're not gonna find, because especially in Europe, they're having that mutual respect. Each and every country have something to say, and other countries, they have to listen to them. So African leaders, they have disappointed us to the point that whenever they're in trouble, instead of asking the people you claim that they had voted for you, you are going to ask the US and France for them to come to your rescue. When you are saying all these things, you're kind of like giving them the power that they're supposed not to be having. And that is the reason why you see the UN keep on trending all over Africa. Because African leaders, they believe that having the UN presence in their country, it will prove they are legitimate in whatsoever they are doing. Forgetting that the UN and this military base, they are there in the mission. As I always say, France with other European countries, they claim to say that they had leave Africa. They have given African their independence. Yet, they are still there. They live physically, but economically, they have not lived. In our previous video, we talk about it. I demonstrate to you on how France has been colonizing Africa through their economy. They pretend to leave Africa, but yet they still have the economy of Africa into their hands. What kind of freedom is that? A true freedom that African child will deserve to have is the day when they will have the freedom of their economy, when they will have a last word to say about their own minerals, to whom they will dare to sell, at what price they will want to sell it to. But as long African we don't have control of all this, guys, we still have to fight again even more harder. So these people, that's what they've been doing. And they can't leave the economy of Africa free if they don't have things such as military troops in your countries, the UN in your countries, coming up with stories of a climate change in your countries, telling you that no, look, you don't need to sell your coal minings to other countries, you don't need to do this, you don't need to do that, you don't need to cut your tree in the forest because it will affect the climate change. So they are coming to make sure that they are there to control the Africa mineral resource, to control the Africa currency, so that Africans, they should not be free to do anything. Another big mistake that our African leaders, they've been making that disappoint each and every African around the world is for the fact that they worship this foreign currency. How possible is it that you'll find the USA currency having even more power than your own currency of your country? Am I lying? Go to Zimbabwe. You find they are having a currency, their own money, they call it Zimbabwe dollar. Zimbabwe dollar. Now go and take 100 US dollar, trade it in a Zimbabwe dollar. Tell me how many millions, or should I say thousands, millions, or billions, because it is only in Zimbabwe currency, of course, where you'll find everyone, they are millionaires over there. You find someone who will tell you that no, I'm a millionaire in Zimbabwe, but once they come maybe in one of African country or maybe Europe countries, just to find them that they don't even have 1,000 US dollar, but that money back home make them become millionaires. These are the things that Africa we need to fight. We are giving the value to foreign currency and neglect or reject our own currency. And these are the things that is even giving them more power. Besides Zimbabwe, how many African countries do we still have today who are still using the foreign currency of France, which they call franc CFA? How many of them? There are so many like this. Gabon is using franc CFA. Burkina Faso, though they are managing to chase France, they managed to chase France out, they're still using their money. Mali, the same as well. Though they are not in good relationship with France, they're still using franc CFA. Ivory Coast, Congo, Brazzaville, Togo, Chad, all these French-speaking countries, they're still using their former colonizer money. Now, when you're still using this currency, what guarantee do you have that you are truly free and you are having your own independence? If they still go to you here, because the fact that you are using their money is like they go to you on your balls, if I have to put it that way. That's the proper language. Because you can't move. Everywhere you go, they cap you. The moment you try to run away from them, they just have to squeeze it a little bit. Then you'll be like, okay. The day these African countries, these African leaders will decide to hit their hands on the table and say that enough, it is enough with this franc CFA, I'm telling you, things will change around Africa continent, because that will be the true beginning of Africa freedom. The true beginning of Africa freedom. Imagine once they stop this, which means France is not going to have access to their economy anymore. Do you know why? Because each and every time they use this money, which belongs to France, it is France who have that reserve bank for them. It is France who print out this money. They will decide how much they want to give to you. They will have, they make sure that everything it is under their own control. And that is the reason why you see in these countries, all these countries, they are having foreigner banks. Few of them, they have national banks which belongs to them as Africans. But most of them, they are having banks which comes from foreigners, Indians, France, Americans. Those are the banks. So you don't even know how your economy is being run, because it is not in your hands. That's why you see your money does not have a proper value. Your currency does not have value. No one respects it. The same currency which was made from them, take the same money, go with it in France, try to buy something, if they will accept it. They don't even recognize it. Africans, we need to wake up. These people, they don't even recognize our money. But yet, come with euros, come with pounds, come with the USA. In Africa, you will see Africans shaking like this for them to hold that money, for them to be in the possession of that money. When you want to, let's say maybe you're a tourist and you want to buy something to one of African who's in Africa continent, you will see them, they are shaking because they want to have that money in their pocket. And once they have it, they don't usually go and rush and try to spend it. They want to keep it into their wallets, because they believe that this money will bring them a certain value, will give them a certain value. It will place them at a certain category of class. And they'll start showing you off whenever they want to open their wallet. They make sure that that money must be in the first page, so that everyone, they can be like, this guy have a euros, or this woman have dollars, or this one have pounds. These are the things that Africans, we need to wake up. We need to raise our mind. We need to understand that it's not this way that will change things around. This is what I always say, that the problem of mentalities. We need to change our mentalities as Africans. If we want to change things around, if we want to do things in a different way, we need to change our mentalities. If we still have this kind of mentalities, we're never gonna go anywhere. We're respecting the foreigner currency, yet we don't give our currency value. You take South Africa money, you go with it somewhere across the border, they don't recognize it. You take a kwacha from Zambia, you go with it maybe somewhere in Burkina Faso, they don't recognize it. So these people, they had make us divide among ourselves, even through our own currency. That I don't recognize your currency from your country. You also don't recognize mine. So we hate ourselves to the point that we can't even share the same money. That is what these people, they have done to Africans. But when you cross the border, when you take your aeroplane, you go to Europe, you find all of them, they speak one language, which is with one currency. Euros is being used all over in Europe. Pounds is being used all over in Europe. And they make sure that the US dollar does not have value at all. They value their own money and they speak one language and they reject the US dollar. If they manage to reject the US dollar, what about your African currency? That you guys, you can't even support each other. So these are the things that Africans, we need to look at if we are serious, if we really want to have our true freedom, our true financial true freedom. We hate ourselves, like we don't even understand, like how did we even get here? How did we even get here? Because you can tell already that these people, they had planned everything, they put everything in order. They just want to make African being divided, even through their currencies, so that them they'll continue to enjoy their life, so that their money will have something. They are in control of everything. They support nonsense that African leaders, they've been doing all over in Africa. These people, they don't care about us. So Africans, we need at least to start loving one another and start supporting our African made, whether it is currency, whether it is companies, whether it is a business. We need to start trading among ourselves. Because another things I have really keep in mind or like notice about Africans is for the fact that Africans trade more with Europe when they're supposed to be trading among themselves. Africans, we don't trade among ourselves. Africans, we prefer to trade with Europe's. You look the t-shirt that you are wearing, it comes from somewhere in Europe. You look maybe the wig that your wife is wearing, it's come from somewhere in Europe. You look decent matches, what is made somewhere in China. You know, so things that Africans are supposed to be doing, we're not doing anything. But yet, we are the one who have all this mineral resource that made these people to invade whatsoever they are selling to us. Phones, it is for Africans. But yet, they don't make it in Africa. They have to go and make it somewhere. Will you believe me if I tell you that if you take a phone as it is, this phone, the screen of it, it was made, I mean the material that made this screen, it came from Africa. Almost 95 of things that they made this phone of, it come from Africa. But yet, Africans were not able to make these phones. What is holding one of these African countries to stand up one day, maybe South Africa, since it seems to be one of the African developed country, to start also making our phone, which we can call iPhone Africa, for example. We make our own phones. We make our own cars. And these kind of things, that's something that the whole Africa, wherever we find ourselves around the world, will support, because we know that this is our own product, our own made product. So before I get to buy an iPhone, I'll think twice to see if I should go ahead and buy this iPhone or should I go and buy my African product. But unfortunately, that's not happening. Even the small African companies that are manufacturing different items around Africa continent, do we support them? No. Instead, we are leaving them. We prefer to go and support other people. And this is the reason why you see them, they keep on taking advantage to destroy Africa.